I think one of the most difficult elements when you have an alcoholic in the family, for the family to deal with any alcoholic, is the isolation that it creates. And it creates it very slowly. In other words, friends tend to disappear because they no longer want to be around an alcoholic. And it's a very subtle thing. It's not something that happens overnight. Uh, Certain incidences happen in social events, and people just kind of shy away from it. They're not going to like openly call you up and say, "We're not going to see you again." You just never hear from them again. They don't answer phone calls. They don't answer text. They just disappear. And ultimately, it becomes very isolating. And I think psychologically, the alcoholic realizes that and senses that, and it adds to their overall mental illness because they realize slowly they're going into this abyss of loneliness. And unfortunately, if you have a spouse that's going through this, you kind of share that same kind of going into the abyss if you let it happen. That's why it's so important for family members to have a life outside the life of the alcoholic in your family. And I can remember one real specific event with my wife. And again, I was married for 25 years, and my wife passed away from alcohol use disorder injuries a little over almost 5 years ago this February. There was one incident when her best friend, one of her best friends, and really friends of both of ours, she had gone to college with this guy. He was part of a circle from their college days. And they had kids similar to our age, and they lived in Orange County. And I remember his 50th birthday party. He had a big party. There was like 50, 60 people there. And it was really nice. I knew a lot of his family. We had been, our kids had kind of been raised together. But they lived an hour away, but we were always very close. And there's something that happened at the end of the party. Amanda had been drinking regularly, and this is, another issue. You don't have any control over the alcoholic when they're in a social setting. And it's really the third thing that I always talk about every night when I go live is they don't have an off switch. They don't have the ability to regulate their alcohol. So what happened was there was a lot of empty wine. There was a lot of wine bottles. There was a little bar area, and without anybody paying attention to her, while we were cleaning up, my wife ended up just guzzling something, a bottle of wine. There could have been, she might have had 10 or 15 shots of whiskey by herself. We don't know, but we ended up going to their house after the party, and that's really kind of when the mayhem started. They invited us to stay overnight at their house because at this point it was very late, and we lived, a good hour away. And I said, fine, that's fine. So we ended up going into their house. We were in their guest room, and all I remember is going to sleep. And I thought Amanda was in the room with me. Unfortunately, the next day, I think at the time their son was about 10 or so, and he woke up and went out in the family room, and Amanda was passed out in the middle of their dining room area, and she had peed all over the floor, and it was just an unbelievable sight. I think she had thrown up too, and they happened to have this Asian rug, and I guess it was her grandmother's rug, and she had peed all over it, and it was just an ungodly situation. They were very cool about it. I was like horrified myself when I got up, and Amanda was just kind of laughing it off. She cleaned herself up. She helped clean up the mess, and then we left. And I felt just horrible. It was just disgusting. Amanda was extremely hungover, and that was really her main concern was, how sick she had become. And unfortunately, as a result, it was never the same between him and his wife and the two of us. We never saw each other again, actually, after that, as couples. And I saw him later. We used to do this parade out in Pasadena called the Doodah Parade. We used to go there every year. And this was probably 6-8 months after that. And the first time I had seen him. And I remember he came up to me and, nothing against you, Andy, but we can never have Amanda over at our house. She's actually banned for life. And he just kind of said it jokingly. I go, I understand. Trust me, I understand. And it was very difficult because he'd known her for 30 years or more. They'd known since they were almost teenagers, since she first went to college, and they'd had enough. And it was just one example of many examples of friends that they'd had for years and years. And unfortunately, the last time I saw them, him and his wife, was at her funeral. and they were not really surprised at the ending, because they had known her much longer than I had, at least a decade longer than I had, and they weren't surprised. So they were well aware of her issues, and how long it had been going on. And the whole point of it is that even your best friends, people just can't be around the disease, which exacerbates the whole problem. And I have really little doubt that this story and so many stories like it are very, relatable to so many people out there. And this is one of the reasons why I tell them. But again, my wife's memoir, it's called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. It's the story of her 20-year decline or more with the disease, and she succumbed February 21st of 2020. Important book because it's from the family perspective. And again, I want to point out I go live Monday through Friday right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We also have the Facebook group. There's two of them. One's called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. Just join one. And the other one is called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Actually, the link is in my bio. Go to the link tree. And also, when you're ready to work with me one-on-one, go to the link tree. Set up a breakthrough call. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. The alcoholic must be on the call. Don't just make an appointment just to talk. That's not what it's about. It's about going over a program to change the rest of your life. The call is free. The course is definitely not. But I'm looking for committed people who want to change their life and the life of their family. And again, thanks so much for listening.